Welcome to tonight's video. This is an overview of the Lord of the Flies novel study and a description of the pre-reading activities. We talked a little bit in class about the Lord of the Flies. It is a fiction novel. It was written by William Golding. It was published in the 1950s. Tonight's video is going to talk a little bit about the work we're going to do before we get into the novel. Golding talks about some important themes and some important issues that we can talk about in the real world. And in order for us to get a good idea of what the book is about, we need to spend some time before we begin reading it, looking at the issues that he's going to raise. If you look at how the pre-reading activities are going to be organized, there are two pre-reading activities. One is the anticipation guide, which you're going to work on tonight, and that's an individual grade. And we're going to use it to have seminar when I come into next class. You will get a participation grade for this. The second piece of the pre-reading activities, is a survival web quest, and this is a group activity. And the purpose of this is to get you to kind of think through the kinds of issues that need to be considered if you're trying to structure a group, a community, a society that's going to function for the best interests of everybody. Let's look at the anticipation guide first. This is the biggest portion of tonight's work. These will be your notes for this video, and there is no summary tonight. An anticipation guide is simply a set of statements, and once you've copied the statement into your writer's notebook or your ISN, whichever, I think your writer's notebook would be a better place to put it, but that's up to you. Once you've copied the statement, you're going to think about each one. These statements are kind of on heavy topics, and you're going to think about whether or not you agree or you disagree with the statement. And then if you disagree, do you strongly disagree or just disagree? If you agree, do you strongly agree or do you disagree? Just agree. Or are you neutral? Do you really not have an opinion either way? I would prefer you not pick the three, especially not more than once or twice. If I find that you've picked three for most of these, you will get a 0 for the assignment because there's no way you're going to be neutral about all of the statements. Once you have decided how you feel about this statement, then in your notes, I want you to explain why. Why do you agree? Why do you disagree? Why do you strongly agree? Now, this can be a list. It can be bullet points, it can be phrases, it can be a graphic organizer. It does not have to be paragraphs. I do not want paragraphs. I simply want you to have a list of notes so that when you come in to discuss the position you took, you will have reasons to support your thinking. Once you've been through all 10 statements, you've decided whether you agree or disagree, and you've jotted down a list of why, then I want you to look over the entire list. If you could only choose 5, which 5 do you think are the most important or talk about the biggest ideas? Of those 5, which one is the most important or the biggest idea? Number that 1. What do you think is the second most important idea? Number that 2. And so on until you have rated your top 5 in order of importance. Here are the statements. Think about these, please. Number 1. Let me get a pen. When given a chance, people often single out and degrade another person to improve or make themselves feel better. When given the chance, people often single out and degrade another person to improve or make themselves feel better. Agree, disagree. Strongly agree, strongly disagree, neutral. Number 2, if humanity is to survive, innocence may have to be sacrificed. If humanity is to survive, innocence may have to be sacrificed. Agree or disagree? Strongly or neutral? Number 3, whenever groups of people coexist, and by coexist I mean try and live together and get along, whenever groups of people coexist, there will be a struggle for power. Whenever groups of people coexist, there will be a struggle for power. Number 4, human beings are inherently or basically evil. Number 4, human beings are inherently evil. In other words, we are born evil and have to work to become good, rather than born good and work to become evil. Number 5, most people are followers because it's easier to follow than it is to lead. Most people are followers because it's easier to follow than it is to lead. Number 6, it is better to examine the consequences of a decision before you make it than to discover the consequences after. It is better to examine the consequences of a decision before you make it than to discover the consequences afterwards. Number 7, society is what holds everyone together, and without some kind of society structure, our ideals, our values, and our morals will be sacrificed. Number 7, society or community structures are what holds everyone together. Without some kind of a society or a community framework or expectation, our ideals, our values, and our morals are sacrificed. Number 8, when the institutions of law and order slip away or we ignore them, human beings will resort to a more primitive part of their nature. This kind of connects to number 4. Number 8, when the institutions of law and order slip away or we ignore them, human beings will resort to a more primitive part of their nature. Number 9, power always corrupts. Power always corrupts. Number 10, people only hunt because they need the meat. People only hunt because they need the meat. All right, stop here for a minute. Make sure you've copied all 10 statements down. Decide for yourself, each one, agree, strongly agree, disagree, strongly disagree, and then why. Once that's been done, narrow the list of 10 down to the 5 biggest issues, and then order those 5 in order of importance. Oh, I went too fast. Remember that we are going to have a Socratic discussion in class, next class, tomorrow. And the basis of our discussion is going to be your opinions about these issues. William Golding's novel is a window novel. And by a window novel, I mean it's not a novel that you look at it and the characters reflect back who you are and the world you live in. Rather, when you read a window novel, you look through into a world that's completely different from your own. And those are the kinds of novels that you need to do some thinking about, and you need to do some discussion, and you need to do some preparation to think about those novels. Part of the big themes that Golding is going to help us think about through the actions of the characters in this window novel are these 10 statements. And it's important for us, A, to understand them, and B, know where we stand before we begin to think about the book. Take your time, be thoughtful about this. Your notes on these 10 statements are your notes for tonight's video, and they will be your ticket to allow you to participate in tomorrow's discussion. We're going to spend the first 45 minutes discussing the issues. We're going to spend the last 45 minutes of Monday's class or Tuesday's class getting your survival community set up. Here's the scenario. You said you wanted to take a vacation to the islands, but it wasn't under these circumstances. You pictured a nice, peaceful flight, your earbuds in, Marley on your tape player, Hawaiian print shirt, a nice cold drink in your hand, kicked back, waiting to land. You're going to hook up with your friends on your island. You're going to spend your time kicking back, basking in the sun on a white sand beach, not having to do anything but lay in the sun, eat, sleep, and party. But wait, the emergency lights are flashing. There's a rumble, and the plane begins to pitch about. Your stomach does flips as you snatch the earbuds out of your ears. What's going on? The plane is rolling and pitching. After what seems like an eternity of screaming, plane noises, shaking and rattling, you black out. When you awaken, you're lying on a beach at the edge of a jungle. To your right, half submerged in the water, are the smoldering remains of what's left of your plane. Unfortunately, you have no idea where you are or even how much time has passed. You were meeting your friends on the island, so the rest of the survivors on the plane, about 20, are all strangers to you. So there you are, on a deserted island with 20 strangers and no idea what's going to happen to you. 2 weeks pass. You've built smoke signals. You went into what was left of the bulkhead of the plane and found a case of water, but that's gone now. And it begins to dawn on you that you might be here a while. That it's going to take some time before you're rescued. Or you know what? You might not even be rescued. Who knows where this island is? And you realize you're going to have to start thinking about long-term survival. What are you going to do if you're here a month, 2 months, 6 months, a year, forever? In a stroke of luck, you begin to talk about among the people that are on the island with you, and you discover that you and 3 others in the group, one of you knows something about the environment, one of you is a lawmaker, one of you is a political analyst for a small newspaper back home, and one of you is a guide for a wilderness adventure company. You begin to talk and you realize that if you can just put your talents together and get some thinking done, you might be able to structure a community and get some kind of framework up and running. Here is your task in the next few days in class. You are going to try and lay the groundwork for a new society. You're going to be expected to gather information based on which role you pick: the environmentalist, the lawmaker, the political analyst, or the wilderness guide. You're going to write a system of laws, and you're going to create some consequences that your group's going to approve on. You're going to create a wilderness survival tip sheet, and you're going to plan on what kind of work has to happen and who's going to get the work done. You're going to draw up some plans for housing, creating housing. You got to live somewhere. You can't be out in the elements. You have the remains of the plane, what wreckage is left, and you're also going to have to decide what's in your environment. You need to create an inventory of the natural resources that are available to you that might be useful. And finally, you're going to have to write a job description. You're going to have to decide what kind of qualities do you want your leader to have? What kind of a system of government are you going to set up? Your grade for this project is going to depend on a few things. A, how thorough your information is. B, how creatively you've put it together. And C, how well the community survives. You'll have the rest of the week to think about this and work on it in class. This is all we will be doing. You'll have all of the work, the research work done when you go out for spring break, and the day you return from spring break, you'll have the entire block to put your work together and present it to the class. We'll begin reading the class after we return from spring break. Take time to view the video actively, pause, rewind, review. This is really one where you should be doing a lot of that rewinding and reviewing because you've got a lot of things to think about. You need to take your time and be very thoughtful about the statements in the first part of the video. I have an information packet I will be giving you for your survival simulation, and there are also links on NiceNet that are going to provide you with some resources. You have no summary tonight to post to NiceNet. There's no summary required. And the only notes are the notes that you take for yourself for your 10 statements for your questionnaire. I'm really looking forward to this. It's going to be completely different from anything we've done before, and I think it's going to be really interesting, but it is going to require that you do some heavy thinking. So take the time, prepare for our discussion for the next class, and I will see you in class.